down the middle of your page. This will help you out infinitely. Put your finger like right in the middle and then put a teeny little dot that only you can see. All right. Now, we're going to draw a circle. We always seem to start with circles. Well, almost always. Do this. Lock your wrist. Let your shoulder roll around, and you're going to get a nice smooth circle. I'm going to show you where to put it. See that dot? It's going to go over here to the right of it. And it's going to be kind of low in my page. Okay, if that's the middle, it's kind of down in the lower half here. Why, you ask, Thomas? Why are we putting our character so far into that corner? Because he's a rabbit. And he's got great big long ears, and they're going to go boing out like this. So we need lots of room for it. You guys are going to, it's all going to pay off. Now we're going to put down some guidelines. Guidelines are a map, you know, I think of them that way because they show us where all of his features, his eyes, nose, and everything goes. Starting right at the top and heading down towards the bottom, I'm going to put a curved guideline like this. So now I've got this kind of crescent moon over here, right? Keeping it very, very light. Messy lines, that's okay. I'll clean it up when we're good and ready. I'm going to go ahead and about halfway down, I'm going to put a crossing guideline, and it's going to dip down this way as it goes from one side to the other. Okay? We're drawing him at this 3/4 angle. Okay? So this being the center of his face. We're going to start his nose right where these two lines cross, right about here. Now he has a longer nose than Mickey does, although they do bear a striking resemblance to each other. And I always think that his looks like a little Vienna sausage. You know those little hot dog things that you get when you go to a party and they're swimming in that red sauce, and I eat way too many of them, and my wife says, stop. I'm going to go ahead and lock that little sausage on in, which I did, give it a nice bold outline, and I'm going to shade it in too. So there's Oswald's nose. And now that we've got that in place, we can draw in his great big smile, a trademark of Disney characters going all the way back to the very first one. Okay, let's go ahead and start. I want to start it just over here above the line, and I want it to end up right here under his nose. Now I'm going to go from here to there, just connect the dots. But I'm going to open his mouth up into a big happy smile. And I'm not going to take it all the way from end to end. It's going to start here, and I'm going to use that guideline that I drew there and kind of make that the far right side of it. There we go. So I got a big letter U, kind of in the middle of the smile that we drew in a moment ago, this one. Right underneath it, big letter U. That looks good. Now when you smile real big, over here, it's going to push up your cheek. So I'm going to give him what we call a smile line. A little single line rainbow to show that it's pushing his cheek up. And I'll go ahead and get all of this stuff locked in here so that it shows up real good. See, just darkening in the lines that look good to me. Even though I put down a bunch of them, I'm just going to darken in or lock in the stuff that looks best. This method is used by every artist, whether they're working for Disney or anybody else. Very, very typical. Let's go ahead, and since his mouth is wide open, what do you think we're going to see inside?
Teeth.
Tongue. Right. Teeth, maybe if he was angry or if he was eating corn or something like that. Yeah, but for most of our purposes, it's just going to be the tongue. I'm going to start right over here. It's a hot day. I'm going to go down the water slide. Here we go. Whee! I'm going to do that. Was great. I'm going to do that again. Most refreshing. I'm going to shade this area, this negative space in, give it a little bit of depth, like that. I want to give him a chin too. So right at the underneath his tongue, I'm just going to, as we say in art class, follow the studied line. Okay? That just means look at this curve in this case and draw it again a little bit lower. I'm just going to make it as wide as his tongue is. There to there. And you're going to get a nice little chin for him. I'm going to lock that in. Follow the studied line. Look at this one, study it, and draw it again. Bold artistic terminology. We can go ahead and lock in the rest of his head now. I'm just going to start over here, and I'll give you a little more Oswald history. 1927. Walt Disney really wanted to get into producing animated films, came up with this idea with a couple of artist friends of his and his brother Roy, who was kind of the financial man of the company. And they started producing these cartoons as cheaply and as efficiently as they could, sold the idea to a film distributor and her husband, a man named Charles Mintz. And these guys were running the show, basically, taking Walt's work and getting it out there in theaters. But Mr. Mintz thought he could make more money if he could just squeeze Walt out of the equation. And so he started to hire Walt's artists away from him behind his back, had it in the contract that he, Mr. Mintz, actually owned the rights to Oswald, and then called Walt to come in for a meeting. And when Walt got there, he told him that he not only owned the character and was taking him away, but he owned most of his artists, and he was taking them away too, and left Walt Disney with the buckets. Walt vowed when he on the train ride back from that meeting from New York that he would never let anybody own anything that he created again. So when he got back, him, his brother Roy, and his trusted friend Ub Iwerks, strange name, great animator, came up with an idea for a mouse, and the rest is history. I'm going to go ahead and draw in his character mask. Now you're going, what is a character mask? Okay, let's get a curve right above that smile. I'll show you what I mean. His character mask is something that he and his successor, Mr. Mouse, both had going around their eyes. That black area that surrounds their eyes and comes to a point right there at the top of their forehead. This would make a black and white character look a little more interesting. It would also frame the eyes, which are the most important feature of a character, too. I'm going to grab onto the end of this, and I'm going to just bring a curve up to the top of his head from the end of it, like that. Now that little point at the top of his forehead, I'm just going to bring it down using that guideline right there. We'll just bring it down about that far, and then add a little hooked curve to it. There you go. There's the character mask. We can shade that in, as we should. There we are. Okie doke. Everybody doing good so far? Really rocking and rolling on this thing. Okay, well, I don't want to lose any momentum, so let's keep going. We're going to draw in the most important feature now, his eyes, right? The most important feature on any character. Now, this line that we crossed with here, we call that the eye line for this very purpose. I'm going to set the one that is closer to us in our drawing right in the middle of this area here. And it's a big oval. And see how his head's kind of leaning back? I'm going to make it lean back just a little bit there. It's not going straight up and down. It's kind of tilted. Now, if you want to go, I love to go old school on these things with old characters. And this was a very special look. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I love the pie eye look. You give a little pie wedge there, and that gives them this very kind of antique-y kind of glimmer in their eye. It's the way they used to do it back when I was just a kid. All right, I'm going to darken that eye in. You always want the eyes to be the darkest feature of your character so that they really stand out and, you know, pulls the audience into the emotions that the character is going through. Okay, the other eye is just above the nose, and because it's a little further, because of the way his head is turned, it should be a little bit smaller than this one. So I'm just gonna, we'll see a little bit of it disappearing behind that nose. I'd say that's pretty good. I'm gonna give it the pie wedge though, and then lock that one off in too. Now, why are we drawing this character that Walt Disney lost the rights to so very long ago, about 100 years ago, in fact? Well, because way back in 2006, our CEO, Bob Iger, felt that Oswald was an important part of the Disney company's history. Now, at that time, the rights to Oswald belonged to Universal. And so he went to the folks at Universal and said, we'd really like to have this character back. How about we trade? we'll trade you our sportscaster from our TV network, ABC, Al Michaels, if you give us back the rights to Oswald, the original Oswald cartoons that Walt Disney made. And they said, yeah, that's a deal. And so we traded a live human being for a cartoon rabbit. And Al Michaels wasn't too bent out of shape. He thought, yeah, that's cool. I was ready for a change, and it's fun to be the answer to a famous trivia question. Who got traded for Oswald the Rabbit? Like you hear something like that on Jeopardy. Alrighty, now the ears, okay? We're gonna come back like this. I like to draw a single line to kind of get the idea of where each ear is going. If you were to follow the point of his character mask here and just kind of bring it back, I like to give it a little curve. I think that just makes it look more animated, a little more alive. Now I'll go up, I'd say about halfway between that line and this little base here at the top of his head. I'll put another one. This one should be a little further away and therefore a little smaller, a little shorter than this one. Now we're going to turn them into wobbly baseball bats. You know how baseball bats are narrow at the handle and get wider as they go out with a rounded end. So rounded end here, rounded end here. And then they're going to come in like this. You can see they're getting narrower as they go towards his head. That one looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and get this one in place too. Yeah, that was pretty unscrupulous of Mr. Mintz to do that to Walt Disney, but you know, we kind of got revenge on him. Our company, Pixar, made a movie a few years ago called Up. And the villain in that film was named Charles Muntz. Coincidence?
I think not.
I think not. That's pretty good. All right, let's get those ears locked on in. We'll give them a little shading, and then we'll be done with our lucky rabbits. By the way, the lucky rabbit, okay, he's called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And that's because he had a kind of a magic thing that he could do. He could actually remove his lucky rabbit's foot and rub it on whatever he needed luck to come into. So, you know, it's like if I had a lucky rabbit's foot, I'd take it off and I would rub it on my wallet every day. There we go. All right, it's locked in here. Oswald, since we got the rights back, has made cameo appearances in video games like Epic Mickey, short films like Get a Horse, and there are some old Oswald cartoons that you can see on Disney Plus, along with some newer stuff that they've done for Oswald. I like the cameo appearance he made in, and my friend Andrew mentioned in his last class, Oswald made a cameo appearance in the film Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness. There's a TV on and one scene in the background, and they were watching an old Oswald cartoon. Pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and sign my lucky rabbit right down here in the corner. How did everybody do?
Amazing.
Amazing. All right.